It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Bethel University head men's ice hockey coach, Chris McKelvie. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you got started in your college coaching career?
So it kind of came about through my twin brother who coaches at West Point, and their head coach there. I was still a professional player, and they had known that I was contemplating retiring from playing, and they offered me a position at Army West Point, and next thing you know, I'm a full-time coach.
What was your experience like at Army West Point with your brother?
I think outside of not liking my brother, no, I'm just kidding, but it was incredible. I mean, to be able to work with one of your best friends is a pretty incredible experience, and then also to do it at a place like West Point is a really big deal, because I think there's a bigger mission than just winning hockey games, and that's really important. So we definitely strive to be an elite hockey team, but like we're really preparing men to be leaders, not only for our nation but also for the world.
What were some of your accomplishments at West Point?
So I think there's kind of a few. The team had been maybe at the bottom of the Atlantic for 4 or 5 years, and they were kind of coming out of that transition. So some of the recruits, it was Matt Berkovitz or John Zimmerman, who's now the captain, Alex Wilkinson, who was Army Defenseman of the Year. He was also on the All Rookie team. Parker Gahagan is now playing in the American Hockey League. Dom Franco is playing in the American Hockey League. So a lot of those things hadn't really happened in the past at West Point. So I think, big credit to Coach Riley and Zach for recruiting those players. And those are some of the biggest accomplishments. We another big team accomplishment is we went on the road to Air Force, what would have been 2015, and swept them there, which is an incredibly hard place to win, especially with where Air Force was at back then. So that was a really big deal. And, both years we continue to climb up the standings in the Atlantic Hockey. So all those things, I guess, to answer your question, a combination of a lot of things were some of the biggest successes.
How has your time at Army helped you to become the head coach at Bethel University now?
Well, I think you're surrounded by really good leaders, and whether that's military leaders or like Coach Riley and my brother, is you really learn a lot from them. You can just it's almost you pick up stuff through osmosis. Just being around them, rubbing shoulders with the right people, and you just start to pick up stuff, and you probably start to look like them a little bit, which is really good. I think West Point's a really unique place in the fact that you do, as a coach, you get to hang out with 3-star generals, 2-star generals. Like it's a really big deal. Some of the officers you get to hang out with, and some of the leadership opportunities you get that you might not get other places, whether it's talking to the New Zealand All Blacks management, which is a pretty big deal, or it's talking to special forces guys, and so you get to learn a lot, and I think that really helps shape you and how you want to run your organization when you finally get a chance to do it yourself.
What was it like getting your first head coaching career job at Bethel?
It was crazy. It was like drinking from a fire hose. There's a lot of things you don't really know. You kind of, I think everybody thinks they know what it's going to be like, or they have an idea. But then when you really actually get that opportunity, you realize there's a lot more to it that you don't even really consider. And just little things from ordering equipment to, managing meals and just a lot of little stuff that you wouldn't really consider when you're thinking about coaching as a profession. So it's been a pretty incredible journey, one that I wouldn't trade, but there's definitely some challenges you're not really aware of when you sign up to be a head coach.
What was it like transitioning from being an assistant coach to a head coach in a public school environment?
Well, I think for me, probably one of the things I've always tried to build a connection with the players. So, whether it was being an assistant or a head coach, I don't think anything changed from, the connection with the players. Those guys always mean a lot to me. And I don't think just because you're a head coach or an assistant, it's any less. But I do think some of the decisions, whether it's cutting a player or having hard conversations with a player, it wears on you maybe a little bit more because you understand that, like, whether right or wrong, people are going to look at you for successes and failures of your organization. And so, there's a kind of a big responsibility and a weight. And so that can, the first year, it kind of weighed on me a little bit more, but the more you kind of get rid of that, you can fight against that, the better, the easier it becomes to have those conversations and to just navigate some of the tricky parts of being a head coach.
What was your professional hockey career like?
Well, it was awesome. I mean, I loved it. It's to be able to play a sport and make a living doing it and support your family is an incredible blessing. And wouldn't trade those 7 years for really anything. And my wife and I and our family had an incredible time doing it. I learned a ton. Was able to play at a pretty high level, and just to be able to do something you love, and to not many people get to grow up playing a sport and then actually get paid to do that once they're done college. And so I always said I wish I could have played till I was 40. And, I didn't really anticipate that I'd get a job offer at the Division I level when I would say that. So it's funny how things work out, but certainly it was an incredible time. Got to play in two different really strong organizations, the New Jersey Devils organization and the New York Rangers organization. So, as far as professional hockey goes, those are two of the top organizations.
What is game day like for Bethel University for the hockey program?
So I think it's pretty much similar to any other game day for any other team across all levels, whether it's professional or juniors, college, Division I, Division III. Our game day is the same as everybody else. We generally get our guys up in the morning, 10:30, 11 o'clock, get them for a stretch or a pregame skate, and then the coaches prepare for the game. Game at 7 o'clock, we bring in our guys at 5. We do our meetings at 5:20 to 5:35 about. They stretch, they warm up, and really at that point, the coaches, our job is kind of over, and you just let the players prepare. You hopefully guide them, and you've hopefully prepared them to execute what you want them to do at 7 o'clock, and then that's it. I think the one difference at Division III than maybe juniors or college, Division I or professional is, the coaches also set up the locker room, and they also set up, the pregame stuff, and they also help facilitate pregame warmups and stuff, where I think at other levels you might have more support staff to do that. So it's a little bit more hands-on on game day than maybe a Division I coach, where you really just, run your meetings and coach the game. We're doing a little bit more.
What is the recruitment process like for prospective student athletes looking to play hockey?
So probably similar to the other coaches you've talked with, Brandon, is we go, we'll search really anywhere in North America for players, and even into Europe a little bit. We don't have access to get over to Europe, really, but we can watch players online. Technology nowadays is pretty sweet. We can watch really any player in the world. But we look anywhere for a player that fits what we're looking for at Bethel. And so we're looking for high achievers academically. We're looking for high achievers on the ice. We're looking for a good fit for Bethel, and Bethel's a Christian school. So it's important to us that the prospective athletes come in and knowing who we are and what we represent. And, if they can meet all that criteria and they help us, eventually win hockey games, then hopefully it's a good fit for us.
Can you talk about, of course, the 2019-2020 season of being the champs, the conference champs?
Well, we actually weren't the conference champs, but we had finished. I think what you're referring to is finishing 500 in conference for the first time in like 8 or 9 years, I think it was. So I think that was a big step in our program. One, for the belief in the locker room with the guys, and then also kind of the optics of our program moving up. For a long time, Bethel hockey was thought of as a little bit of the doormat of our conference. And I think last year finishing where we did in the conference wasn't by any means where we want to finish or acceptable to us, but it was a big step in the right direction for our program, and kind of signaling to the rest of the teams and to our guys and to administrators that, yeah, we are going in the right direction. And if we can keep this momentum going, hopefully we're a force to be reckoned with here in the future.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you have built there?
Yeah, well, hopefully I've had a little bit of some guidance into the culture, and I've had an impact on the culture here. But I think probably Bethel as a whole the university as a whole does a great job, facilitating a great culture. And like I mentioned, it is a Christian school. And so to live out those core values that we believe in here, really, it just enhances like the student athlete experience, and the student experience as a whole. We really place an emphasis on community and relationships here, whether that's with your professor, with your coach, but those relationships are really critical for us to develop young men and women. And so I think the hockey coaches, we play a small part in that, maybe a little bit bigger than a small part in that, because, the part of their day that maybe is the most enjoyable is their sport. And so what we try to do is we try to be coaches, and I say coaches, I mean my assistants and myself. We try to be coaches that are really relational with our players. We're honest with them. We hopefully provide pretty good clarity with them in our messaging, but we also really look for times to put our arm around them and love them, and also kick them in the butt when they need it and hold them accountable. And I think when you can be authentic and real and come at it with some humility, that it really builds connections with your players. And when your players trust the coaches, and when you trust the players, it really creates an environment where everybody can thrive. And so that's really important to us. And then we also, we ask our men to be really men of character and integrity. And I know a lot of programs talk about that, but what that means for us is, do what you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to do something, make sure you follow through on it. If, you're going to step on the ice for practice, make sure you give it everything you have. And the more we can do that, the stronger our culture becomes. And I think, we do really like team building activities, but the best time to build a culture is in practice every single day and in games, and learning how to trust each other in those situations. And that's really where, those cultures are really enhanced.
What does a typical official visit look like for Bethel University?
Well, it kind of depends. We're in COVID right now. So, official visit sometimes is just a 30 to 45 minute virtual call with a prospective student athlete. And it kind of entails us just walking them through Bethel, giving them the best feel we can. And like I mentioned, part of what makes Bethel special is the community. And so it's hard to maybe necessarily get that virtually, but that's really how we're doing visits right now, is virtually. If a player comes on campus, it can range anywhere from 3 to 4 hours to an overnight visit. It really just depends on the needs of that athlete and what we feel is best for them to fit. But basically any visit includes, they see all the facilities, obviously. They also hopefully get to know the coaches really well. And then we really want to get them around the players. I think it's our job as coaches to sell the school and to be a salesman for the university. But it's really when they get in front of athletes or the other players on the team is really when they find out about the nuts and bolts of the school, and they can really get a sense of like, if this place is right for me.
I know with hockey, you can't put on the jersey because, of course, of equipment and stuff like that. But do they get to look at the jersey and see, like, if they do come to that prospective school, what that jersey might look like on them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we try to do everything possible so that the student athlete can envision themselves walking the halls, being in our uniform, being coached by our coaches, being in the locker room with our players, and try to put them in a spot where we sit them down in the locker room and they can kind of just get a feel, whether they even know what we're doing or not. Is we try to put them in those situations where they get a real sense of what it means to be a Bethel hockey player and be a part of our family.
Who are some of the teams that you play in Bethel's conference?
So I think some of the big teams that people might know about, if they're familiar with Division III hockey, are St. John, St. Thomas. Those are some of the bigger schools in not only in men's hockey, but also in football and in men's basketball in the Midwest in terms of Division III. Augsburg has a very strong program outside of our conference. A lot of people might know Adrian and St. Norbert's in the Midwest. Stevens Point. So those are some of the big schools. Those are the top schools. Those are some of the schools that we're hopefully rising to their level.
In the future with scrimmage games, do you plan on, of course, scrimmaging with Army, your brother's school?
Yeah, if Army wants to play us, you can tell my brother I said this. If they want to play us, we gladly play them. They just have to pay for our flights and our hotels and all that. So if you can work that out, Brandon, we're game.
What advice would you give upcoming college coaches looking to get started?
Well, I think the biggest thing is be authentic. Be authentic with your players. Don't try to be somebody you're not. We all watch coaching clinics. We watch coaching podcasts. We watch things on YouTube. We meet other coaches, and those things are really good to mold us and shape us. But at the end of the day, you've got to be real. And because players see right through it, players see right through it if you're not real. And it's the times I connect best with our players and my assistants connect best with our players is when they're authentic and real. And when we try to be somebody else, they see right through it. If I try to be Mike Babcock, who's a legendary NHL coach and a much different style than I am, the players see through that. They know that that's not me. And so that's my biggest piece of advice is be authentic. And then also have a lot of humility as much as you can. And that's a interesting thing because I think as coaches, we do have to have a confidence about knowing what we're doing. But if we can blend that confidence and competence for the game, but also having humility to say, hey, yeah, I was wrong. Or, I don't have all the answers on the power play. Then I think your players, it helps build those connections. And too many times, when we get in leadership roles, we want to just show everybody that we have it all together. And I don't know that that's always the best technique.
What is something that you learned now that you didn't know before becoming a college head coach?
It's really long hours. I think any guy that has come out of playing professional hockey or playing a professional sport to getting into coaching, I think you understand that the time demands are going to be more than as a player. But I don't think you really realize how much more the hours are, especially in season when we're in games. And, it's not, you can look back on a week and have a 60, 70-hour week, maybe more, depending on, what the week entails. And you don't even realize you're working that much just because whether it's visits or games or, going out and recruiting, driving 2 hours to watch a 2-hour game and then driving 2 hours home. There's all these things that play into it. And so it's a ton of fun. I will say that, but yeah, that was the biggest eye opener for me.
What advice would you give upcoming athletes that are looking to play professional hockey?
I would say it's going to be a lot harder than you think, and that your habits better match your goals. So what I mean by that is, if you say you want to play pro hockey, your habits in the off season, your habits during the season better match that. You can't say that you want to play pro hockey and then yet just do what everybody else is doing in the summer. There's no way you're going to separate yourselves. There's no way you're going to close the gap on players ahead of you if you just do what everybody else does. So what I mean by that is if you have, 4 workouts from your strength coach that are an hour and 15 minutes a week, and you have 3 or 4 skates and they're an hour, and that's all you do, you're not going to separate yourself. It's what are you going to do that goes above and beyond, whether it's sleep, diet, mental preparation, extra sessions in the weight room or extra body work, extra skill work. Those are the things that are going to separate you. And, almost every player to a man says, well, I want to be a Division I player. I want to be a professional player. And it is really rare to find a player that actually knows what it means to have their habits match their goals. And so that's what I would always say to a guy is like, if you say you want to be a first line player, you say you want to be a professional player, then you've got to prove it every single day with how you work and your approach towards the game.
That's wonderful advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with Bethel hockey program at?
Well, Brandon, nobody can find me on social media. Well, I mean, they probably could, but I'm not a big social media guy. But you can find us at Bethel Men's Hockey on Instagram and Bethel Men's Hockey on Twitter. And then, Bethel Royals, through Bethel University is where you'll find more information about our team. And, would be more than willing for any coaches that want to reach out. Would love to connect with other coaches that might be listening to this or other prospective student athletes, whoever this reaches, Brandon. You can point them in my direction. I'd love to connect with them, and always willing to hopefully inspire somebody, but also learn from people and just keep this coaching community really strong and athlete community really strong.
Thank you again, Coach Chris, for your interview, and best of luck with Bethel University in this upcoming year.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. Great job.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Chris, for your interview, and best of luck.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.